December 20th, 2018. Deep state wipes out 1/8 of U.S. economy, then warns run for cover as pillars of global financial system prepare to crash. Posted on whatdoesitmean.com. By Sorka Fall. Note: some words and or phrases appearing in quotes in this report are English language approximations of Russian words or phrases having no exact counterpart. A compelling new Security Council (SC) report circulating in the Kremlin today providing the rationale for Russia buying these past few months over $28 billion in U.S. debt as opposed to its having spent the past year selling off nearly all of its U.S. debt and converting it gold, and as China and Japan likewise are doing by dumping their U.S. debt, states that this economic stabilization measure for the United States was needed to mitigate an attack against President Trump coming from his own deep state who, since October, have wiped out fully 1/8 of the U.S. economy, evaporating $4 trillion in wealth that's now being followed by deep state anti-Trump economic renegade Alan Greenspan telling his leftist followers to run for cover. A timely and accurate warning coming as it does on the heels of the Bank for International Settlements, the Bank of Banks, having just gravely revealed that the pillars of the global financial system are fundamentally unstable and ready to crash. According to this report, the name deep state is the term used to describe the unelected shadow government that is presently trying to overthrow President Trump in a coup, a name first coined by the globally renowned U.S. military analyst and expert Mike Lofgren, the chief analyst for military spending on the U.S. Senate Budget Committee for 28 years, but who, in September 2011, suddenly left his post after publishing a scathing essay wherein he declared that both major American political parties were rotten captives to corporate loot, and in whose book titled The Deep State, The Fall of the Constitution and the Rise of a Shadow Government, reprinted just prior to the 2016 U.S. presidential election, ominously revealed that a web of entrenched interests in the U.S. government and beyond dictates America's defense decisions, trade policies, and priorities with little regard for the actual interests or desires of the American people. With Lofgren painting a grim portrait of the dismal swamp on the Potomac known as Washington, D.C., this report continues. He documented with evidence and provable facts how the deep state is hooked on war, genuflects to big donors, is enthralled to discredited economic theories and utterly bereft of a moral compass as America's governing classes sell their souls to entrenched interests, while the rest of the country and its citizens collapse into despair and poverty, and in whose fear of President Trump destroying them all, just months ago, saw one of the deep state's most revered leftist Hollywood elitists, named Bill Maher, issuing an emergency call to collapse the entire economy of the United States with his declaring, "A recession is a survivable event." What
Imagine if you could invest your spare change every time you buy, well, anything. In 3 easy steps, you can with Acorns. 1. Download Acorns. 2. Set up your account. 3. Watch your change add up. Acorns automatically invest your spare change into a diversified portfolio built by experts, recommended for you. And if you want to boost your balance, you can set automatic recurring investments of just $5, or invest extra cash in your future anytime. You can earn investments from over 250 top brands that invest in you when you shop. And grow your knowledge with original money tips and news featured right in your app. Plus, automatic reinvested dividends and portfolio rebalancing, and 0 commissions or per trade fees. In under 90 seconds, you can add an Acorns Later account, the easiest way to save for retirement, and an Acorns Spend account, the only checking account that saves and invests while you spend. Plus, bank-level security and 24-hour customer support. All of this for just $1, $2, or $3 a month. The Acorns Financial Wellness System puts you in control and the tools of wealth making in your hands.
Trump is doing to the country is not. Aside from the reality that an economic recession cannot, in any way whatsoever, be characterized as a survivable event, and as the tens of millions of Americans who lost their families, savings, jobs, and homes during the Great Recession of 2008 can, most assuredly, attest to. This report says, Mars clarion call to plunge the U.S. economy into recession in order to throw President Trump from power was echoed across the entire deep state, with it then being acted upon by the anti-Trump
just how I planned it.
private banking institution known as the Federal Reserve, whose actions since hearing it have seen their despicable actions of skyrocketing interest rates destroying fully 1/8 of the U.S. economy that has now evaporated into nothingness, over $4 trillion in wealth belonging to average Americans, all of whose life and retirement savings being kept in the U.S. stock markets, now sees it being on track for worst December since Great Depression, and today sees only President Trump standing up to these deep state monsters in the Federal Reserve, slamming them for what they're doing. As to why the deep state is preparing to collapse the U.S. economy, this report explains, is due to their Russian collusion coup plot against President Trump going up in flames faster than they can pour fake news water on it to keep it from being extinguished, and whose few remaining flickers of life are only being kept alive by the deep state-aligned mainstream propaganda media establishment, outright refusing to allow the American people to know that MI6 operative Christopher Steele, who created the made-up Trump-Russia dossier, has confessed under oath in a British court that Hillary Clinton paid him to create it so she could use it to contest her election loss to Trump and then overthrow him. Though the fact that this Trump-Russia dossier was paid for by Hillary Clinton to overthrow President Trump is still being kept from the American people, this report continues, it has, nevertheless, just caused the deep state-aligned reporter who first reported it, named Michael Isakoff, to admit that it's likely false, but whose admission of this fact is only being made because of his knowing the great significance of a little-known ruling handed down by the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia yesterday. To best understand how fearful to the deep state this ruling handed down yesterday by the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia actually is, this report details, can be seen in how the mainstream propaganda media establishment is laughably and distortedly reporting on it, best exampled by the leftist Politico news organization publishing their article titled "Mueller Appears Victorious in Mystery Subpoena Dispute," wherein they describe details about one of the most secretive court battles ever to have been witnessed in American history, but that has buried within it an admission that the order also offers no direct confirmation that the matter involves Mueller's team, thus proving this article is one of subterfuge, not fact. As to what this secretive ruling is truly about, this report further details, can be best understood when knowing that its main issue arose out of lawsuit filed in Washington, D.C. Superior Court by 3 Russian citizens against MI6 operative Christopher Steele's company Orbis Business Intelligence Limited, that is based in London and was founded in 2009 by former British intelligence professionals who were paid by Hillary Clinton to create the made-up Trump-Russia dossier wherein these 3 Russian citizens were defamed. This past August 2018, this report continues, the defamation lawsuit against Orbis Business Intelligence Limited filed by these Russian citizens was dismissed under Washington D.C.'s anti-SLAPP law, which is meant to deter parties from filing lawsuits to tamp down opposing political speech, and immediately after which saw CNN seeking protection for their defamation offenses under the state of Georgia's anti-SLAPP law. But who were shocked this past week when the United States Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit struck down their attempt, thus sending shudders of fear throughout all of America's mainstream propaganda media companies, as these anti-SLAPP laws made to protect them are now being attacked by U.S. federal courts. In understanding how Trump's federal courts are now attacking these anti-SLAPP laws designed to protect companies like Orbis and CNN from defamation lawsuits, this report says, it's most important to note that both of them were being defended by the Washington, D.C.-based international law firm Alston & Bird, whose attorney Christy Holikoff represented Orbis against the lawsuit filed by the 3 Russian citizens who were defamed by the made-up Trump-Russia dossier. By knowing Alston and Bird attorney Christy Hull-Eckhoff represents MI6 operative Christopher Steele's company Orbis, and President Trump being warned by MI6 of the grave consequences if the public should ever know the full truth of what's going on. This report further explains, it was no wonder that the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia oversaw one of the most secretive court cases in American history, but whose ruling yesterday eviscerated every claim made by attorney Eckhoff to protect Orbis, and who must now comply with the subpoena issued to them, with the deep state only having left to throw against President.
I said, I just won. And I was like, woohoo! I won, and it's very possible. It just all depends on luck. Just keep trying. Stuff can turn around and happen.
President Trump, their increasingly growing hysterical mainstream propaganda media campaign blasting unproven anonymous allegations and accusations by the minute. This report concludes, Trump's seeming to plot counterattack against these vile monsters is preparing to unleash its full and cataclysmic fury, and is why Russia is preparing for the worst lest the deep state decides World War III is their best option for survival, and is why. Just hours ago, President Putin warned about Russia's new unstoppable wonder weapons by his stating, I hope our newest systems will make think those who got accustomed to militarist and aggressive rhetoric. Thanks for listening and watching. Remember, discern this information. Subscribe to the YouTube channel UFOs WLG. Share the video and activate the notification bell.
Long boats are coming to win us. Hold on to the shore. We'll be taking the keys from the door. The fuck is this? the fuck is this? Longer boats are coming to win us. They're coming to win us. They're coming to win us. Longer boats are coming to win us. Hold on to the shore. We'll be taking the keys from the door.